Good morning. Good morning, beautiful souls. It's Anna T. Brooks, your Secret Advantage coach. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to this brand new series. So say hello if you're jumping on. I'm going to give it a second, see if Facebook wants to show this, if people want to jump on that happen to see this. I know a lot of the time the lives aren't going out as wide these days, but that's okay. We've always got the replays. Whether you're jumping on live, whether you're catching the replay, say hello, let me know how you're going. And yeah, I am so excited to bring this new series to you. It's something that I've been percolating on for quite a while, and it landed that this is the week to start it and to just get going on it. So this is the celebrity birth chart breakdown series, and this is something I'm going to be doing every single week. I'm going to be focusing on a different, I call it celebrity, but it might be, public figures. It might be just people that are quite well known, so that as I'm breaking down the chart for most people, it's going to be quite relatable to be able to understand where I'm getting this from, because we might have seen these people in the media or in the public space in some way. Which is exactly why I've chosen the very first person to start with, because I feel like whether we wanted to or not, whether this is a voluntary awareness or not, this is someone that we are all aware of and that we have heard about, whether it was against our will or not. So this is the series, the Celebrity Birth Chart Breakdown series. And what I'm going to be doing in this series is every week, I'm going to pick a different person that I'm going to focus on. I'm going to bring up their chart to the best of my ability, because obviously certain public figures, certain celebrities, you're not going to be able to get the exact details. I would love to have things like birth times and things like that as well, but that's not always possible. So I will do my best with the information I can source from the internet. And we're going to break down their chart and kind of look at where is it that I can see how things make sense with their life, with how they operate, with some of the decisions that they've made, with maybe their career, with their love life, all of these kinds of things. What can we see from their chart that really makes sense? And what can I also see that if I had, for many people, I would, have the pleasure and the honor to work with, if I had the opportunity to work with this person and this is their chart, the advice that I would give them, how I would kind of respond. So say hey, let me know if you're jumping on. Let me know if you have any questions as we go through as well. If there's anything that you'd like to kind of know about the chart. So without further ado, actually, no, one more further ado, because I know that some of you are going to be newer to me. So if you haven't been in my space for a while and you're expecting me to be using tropical or mainstream or Western astrology, this is not what we're using here. We are using true sidereal astrology. To the very short context of what this means is, true sidereal astrology is based on the stars, the planets, the constellations as they actually are in the physical visible sky. So if you were to take a telescope, look up into the sky, this is what we are using in true sidereal astrology. We look at where the sun actually is, where the moon actually is, where everything actually is, and we use the full constellations. So if you look up into the sky and actually see the constellations, you'll see that some are much larger than others, some are much shorter. They are not all equal length, which is what tropical or mainstream astrology uses. It's a seasonal based aggregated system that doesn't actually correlate with the sky and what's going on. It was something that was implemented a while back to basically go with the seasons, to make things nice and even. One of the constellations of Fucus was actually removed to get from 13 constellations into 12, and that way they could split it up nice and evenly, right? So it's a very convenient system, but it's just not actually tangibly accurate, right? So true sidereal astrology, what I use with my clients, is actually based on the physical visible sky. If we were to look up where the signs were. So when I'm looking at someone's birth chart in this way, I'm looking at where the constellations, where the planets were at the time of their birth in the actual physical provable state, rather than an aggregated system. So hope that makes sense. This isn't, I'm not going to sit here bagging out another system. If that's what resonates with you, awesome, go nuts. I never, it's just that for me, for my experience and for my clients that come to work with me, it's usually because there's something about tropical astrology that didn't quite resonate, that didn't quite feel like them. And this is where true sidereal astrology really shines. It's like seeing a reflection of who you truly are. And so that's where we're at. That's the very quick context. I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible. If you do have any more questions, please let me know. But without further ado, let's jump into today's chart breakdown. Now, at some stage, I will hopefully be able to actually pull up a chart if I figure out how to work this through Zoom or whatever it is. But for the meantime, I'm just going to be talking you through it. So, very first person we're going to be focusing on today is none other than Kim Kardashian. Now, like I said, regardless what you think of her personally, whether you have any interest in her, whether you have followed any of her business or her life or her media presence or anything like that, one way or another, you probably know something about her, whether it's with or against your will, right? And I find it really fascinating because, again, this is a way that I can kind of introduce you and show you how this works when we're looking at someone's chart and what we're looking at in a way that will hopefully make a little bit more sense because it's someone that you are in some way familiar with, right? So let's begin. So what I was able to find from the internet, from sources, is that Kim's birthday was on October 21st, 1980. She was born in Los Angeles. There is sort of unclear guidance about the time of birth that I was able to find, whether it is accurate or not. I have pulled up the chart as if it is, but again, this is something that unfortunately I can't actually talk to her. I can't actually ask her for a birth certificate. If someone can, please do. I would love it. But you know, this is what we're going to be working with. The other disclaimer that I want to give, right, and this is very important, is I am obviously making a lot of assumptions in this chart reading. Assumptions in terms of Kim herself, right? So I don't know her personally. I've never actually met her. All that I can go by in terms of how I'm seeing this play out is what has been on the public stage. And as we know, not everything that is public is the truth, and not everything that is public is the full story, right? So there's always that disclaimer that I'm going to put at the start, which is that I am working based on the idea of Kim that I have from what I've seen in the media and online. Whether or not this is actually in any way accurate, who knows? But this is how I'm going to be relating it, right? And this is no proof of admission of knowing her personally or knowing or thinking that I actually understand her full life, because I don't. So with the disclaimer out of the way, let's have some fun. Let's dig into this and let's see what we can uncover from this chart. So first things first, this is probably going to be a little bit weird for those of you who are used to tropical astrology, but Kim's sun sign, her star sign, is actually Virgo. I know that this probably won't make sense if you're using a different system, but Virgo is actually a huge constellation. It goes all the way from about mid-September into the beginning of November. It is huge. It is the biggest constellation there is. So many people who think that they are perhaps other star signs around this constellation are in fact not. They are in fact Virgos. And Kim is one of them, right? And this just makes so much friggin' sense because, and especially, again, I'm going by using that time that I did find online about her about her time of birth, whether or not it's completely accurate, but this is what I'm going with. And with that information, I can also see the houses that this falls into. Now, look, she has a lot of earth and a lot of water in her chart. I mean, very little air, very little fire, all right? And this tells me a couple of things. So it tells me that her energy is very, very focused in certain areas, right? There's not going to be a lot of, I guess, aspects to her if she's very consistent in her energy. And the thing I wanted to start with, and this is really interesting, I guess this is already one of the questions that I popped into that I'm going to be sort of answering, which is like, why is she so successful? Why has she been able to build this incredible brand and this incredible wide-spanning business? As a Virgo, as her sun being in Virgo, she is very routine-based. She is very organized. She is very meticulous in going through and working out what are the steps and everything, and then implementing them and then taking action on them. It's that earth energy, right? It's how she's designed to work. And for those of you who may have, this is just based on little bits and pieces that I've seen throughout the years from her show, which I didn't watch very much of. It's just like, you know, a snippet here and there. You can tell very quickly from just watching her that she is very meticulous. She's very methodical. She really has her routine in place, and she doesn't like it to be messed with, right? And this is a very Virgo energy trait when it's used in its power. She has absolutely used that to her power, right? So the other thing that is interesting when it comes to like, why is she so successful, is because this is also in her 11th house. Her sun sign is in her 11th house, which is all about networking, all about those bigger groups, the expansions, being connected with the right people, the right communities. From her career, that has been a big part of it. Is, you know, even in her family, she was born into a family that afforded her these connections from a very early stage, right? And she has just built on that and cultivated that even more deeply. And you can see that in her chart, that she is literally just embodying what is her sun sign and using it to her greatest advantage as well, with that 11th house energy. Now, this kind of ties into as well her, you know, how is she so magnetic? How has she been able to build this really captivating brand that people are obsessed with? It's very polarizing, right? So there's people in the world that really love her and obsessed with her, and there's people that like actively really dislike her, and possibly even the H word, right? Which I think is just stupid. I would never ever I would never hate on somebody that I don't even know. I mean, I don't really hate anyone, even people that I do know. But it's wild, right? The internet is a wild place. And there are people out there who truly just have such triggers around her and such disdain and dislike for her. She's very polarizing in that way. And this comes from, and I can see this very much in her chart. So she is a Scorpio rising. Her rising sign is Scorpio. She is designed to be seen as someone who will trigger people. She is designed to kind of make people question what's going on, trigger them, unearth, you know, things that they are not maybe really comfortable with. Scorpio is also the sign of like birth, death, transformation, the scorpion, right? The phoenix rising, the death and rebirth, and also so much about sexuality, so much about our inner world, the private world, our deepest desires and secrets, right? This is so much of what she exudes, and it's very clear as well from, if you think back to one of the ways that she really blew up in terms of becoming a household name. I think we all know where it started from, right? I mean, obviously, again, being in the family, she was already kind of in that context and already being brought out into the world and all of that kind of thing, and having those connections and who her family is. However, she very much became the first one out of the family to really go big. And it was because of something very controversial, something that should have been hidden, something that should have been private, being exposed and going viral. And again, I know nothing about the situation on a personal level, so I don't know everything that happened there, or how anyone truly felt about it or anything like that. I can only go by what was shown in the media. But regardless of the impact, the result of it, the actual, this being what happened, did bolster her image and did bolster her into the spotlight, right? Whether it was in the way that she intended or not, right? And I can only have the deepest sympathies for anyone who's been in that position. And again, I'm trying to keep this very, very non-judgmental, because again, I do not know this person whatsoever. I am only reading their chart and basing it as like a character on a screen that I've seen, almost like a television character, right? I don't know her personally. So I don't know why I'm getting really paranoid about that, but I just am. I just want to be very, very clear on that, because I would actually really, truly be honored to get to know Kim on a personal level. So this is purely treating it like a character on a screen that we've grown up seeing. Anyway, back to what I was saying with the Scorpio rising energy. This you can very clearly see how this was something that makes sense given her chart, because the rising sign is how we are perceived, how the world perceives us. And when the world looks at her, they see someone who is triggering, someone who is provocative, someone who is doing things in an unconventional way, someone who is kind of the person leading the way of death and transformation, death and rebirth, and just going through things that are very, very confrontational and very confronting and very intense, and coming out the other side, and coming out the other side stronger and leading a new way of doing things, right? This is very much that Scorpionic energy. And as her rising sign, this is something that we all perceive, that the public perceives in her. And it's very interesting as well because she also has her Mars in Scorpio, right? And this means that her energy, the way that she's actually designed to move and take action and do things, is also in this Scorpio energy. The way that she does things is kind of designed to be controversial. When she's in her deepest energy, it is very confronting. It's very deep. She can say truths that kind of really make us question things and question situations. She's designed to do things and take action in a way that can be uncomfortable for people to perceive, right? And so this is all kind of forming into the other part of this is why is she so magnetic? Why does she have this charisma? Why are people so fascinated with her? For those that, you know, again, love or hate her, right? There is a fascination that the world has had with her. And this is that Scorpio energy because it is so alluring. It is so intense. There is so much depth. There is so much that you want to dig under the surface. You want to find out more. There's more truth to be told, right? And this is that energy that she exudes that the world is drawn to. So I've talked a little bit, I guess, about the other part of this as well is I asked, you know, why does chaos work for her? This is why, right? This is why. Because of these alignments in her chart, even where this might have, you know, some of the controversies and some of the big explosive news headlines that have come up in her time in the world, in her time in the spotlight, might have been the end of someone else, might have been the complete, you know, shutdown of another individual. However, for her, she actually thrives through the chaos. That's not to say that she doesn't feel it. It's not to say that she doesn't experience it, that she doesn't personally have have things to process and things to work through or anything like that. That's nothing to do with her personal experience of it. It's simply looking at her chart and saying she is designed to rise through this. She is designed to kind of almost, when this happens, it's almost like an instigation into a further elevation for her, right? Whilst for other people, chaos to the extent that she has experienced may have shut them down, for her, it truly has strengthened her. It truly has given her more of a platform, more of a more power and more moving forward. And that's not to say that she can't succeed without it. She absolutely can. This isn't like oh, well, you know, some people just need to constantly have everything up in flames in order to be happy. No, that's not it. It's simply looking at a chart and saying, well, this makes sense. This makes sense. Why? Despite all of the big headlines and being in the spotlight and having every little part of your life scrutinized to this level and et cetera, despite all of that, she still rises. It works to her advantage. It adds to her brand, right? However she wants to play that in. And this is where it's really interesting because despite all of this Scorpio energy in this particular placements, her overall chart has so much water, so much earth, but especially Virgo. She has a lot of Virgo. Her sun is in Virgo, her Jupiter's in Virgo, her Saturn is in Virgo. Interestingly, her Jupiter and her Saturn in 10th house as well of career. So let me try and formulate the right words here. In someone else's chart, having these scorpionic placements, again, might have really thrown or might have presented more difficulty for them if they didn't work with it. Whether this is a conscious or unconscious thing on her part, Kim has definitely worked with her energy because she has so much Virgo in her chart, so much about precision and refinement and routine and really locking things into place and keeping things going at a pace that that is solid, right? This is so much of that Virgo energy, and especially in the 10th house where we're talking about career and, you know, how she contributes to the world, what is her kind of message and mission in the world. That being her Jupiter, all about how she's expanding as well, and her Saturn in terms of how she's actually applying herself day in, day out. There is a real solidity, a real stability, and a real focus, right? There's one thing that, again, whether you love or hate, however personal feelings you may have about her, you cannot deny that she has crazy focus, right? And when she does, things just work, right? She works, she really, really does. And this is part of that Virgo energy. So having, you know, again, whether or not she's conscious of this or not, it's playing out in her chart. And I can say, looking at her chart, that she's probably lived quite well into her blueprint, because looking at her life, she has actually used her gifts and then overcome the challenging parts of it, where this could have been, you know, the Scorpio energy could have overtaken and messed things up. But she's really grounded into her Virgo energy in so many ways that this has managed to build and grow. And that chaos has just built on this and has just added to this, right? Now, the other part that I wanted to talk about, sorry, I keep like falling because I've got a desk here and I want to put my elbow, but it's just that little bit too far away. Okay. The last part that I wanted to talk about, let me know if you have any questions, by the way, drop them in, let me know. So the other part that I wanted to talk about is love, right? And this is always interesting. And obviously, again, one of the harder things to try and truly decipher when we're talking about celebrities or public figures, because again, I know nothing about her personal feelings. I know nothing about what's actually going on in her internal world. I am just going by the character on a screen that I've seen in small snippets here and there. But let's look at her chart, right? For someone with her chart, why would she have chosen partners that weren't aligned for her, partners that didn't work out, that are not lasting, that have ended up in, once again, in drama or in chaos or in big explosive, that scorpionic energy again? Why would this have happened? So when it comes to your chart, there's many aspects of the alignments that show how your energy works in its best way, in its highest alignment. So like I spoke about her sun being in Virgo, the way that she has chosen to structure her life and move through life has worked very well. She has leaned into the highest alignment of that Virgo energy and used it to her advantage, and it has got her very, very far. There is a flip side. There is always the lower alignment side, the lower vibration side of every sign, right? So this would mean that if she had not done this, for example, with all of this Virgo energy, she could have just become overly perfectionistic, not really making moves, not moving forward on things, being scared to actually put anything out there because it's not quite perfect, it's not quite right. You know, things like the show, for example, where you do get to see moments of imperfection and moments of things that people are going to judge because that's the drama and that's what people want to see on TV. If she had allowed it to be so much about holding the reins so tightly on her image and her brand, she may never have allowed that to happen, and it wouldn't have got her even more exposure, right? So that Virgo energy can become very controlling. It can become very overwhelmed. It can become very just, you know, kind of its own self-sabotage in many ways. So there is there is the kind of lower alignment of every single sign and every single constellation within a particular concept. And this is where, when something's not working, when something's not giving you the results that you're wanting, it's good to look at and go, okay, am I actually tuning into and aligning to the highest vibration of all of these alignments that I have of my energetic blueprint, or am I perhaps allowing some of the lower vibrations to come through and to guide things? And so this is where, you know, when we're looking at love life, if someone, in this case Kim, but someone presents with this particular chart, and you go, okay, why would they be, what could be the reason that they keep picking the wrong people and it's not a lasting relationship and it kind of blows up in a very big and public way? this is what I would look at in the chart. I would say, well, her Venus is in Leo. And again, if the time of birth that I have is accurate, also in her 10th house. This means that she has a natural inclination to bring her love life and her career together. Kanye, this makes perfect sense, right? When she was in a relationship with Kanye, both of their brands exploded. They merged together. They both grew. They both started, all of these different things, and together they focused on their creation and elevating that, right? And so to some degree, this is where she used that energy very well, and it actually grew and it actually expanded. The problem there being the Leo energy. The Leo energy is all about creativity, self-expression. It's big, it's bold, it's wearing your heart on your sleeve, right? And when it is in its lower vibration, and a Venus in terms of her love language, it can mean that she looks and she feels drawn to things that appear incredible and big, and like she's going to be sort of love bombed, and everything's going, and it's just incredible and intense. And that's that Leo energy when it's in its lowest vibration, can get very carried away with just how overwhelmingly intense and loving, and just that first kind of like when you fall in love with someone, that feeling on steroids, right? And this means that sometimes that judgment and, some of her other placements where she might have been a little bit more, used a little bit more discernment, can get shut down. Because with that Leo energy in her Venus, she does require a partner that's going to allow her self-expression, her creativity. Part of it as well is children, right? Leo has a lot to do with the 5th house and with children. And so made sense that, in this partnership with Kanye, she did go ahead and have children as well. Because this is another way, this is her kind of love language. It's a way that she feels safe and she feels complete and she feels satisfied in love, in a love relationship. So it makes sense, the types of people that you would choose in that alignment. And it also makes sense why, without the correct discernment and without factoring in a few other things to kind of look at, this wouldn't last, and it would end up again in that very scorpionic type energy of her Mars, in a big explosion and a big, media scandal and all these kinds of things. This is where, if I was looking at this person's chart and suggesting, well, what could you have done differently to assess this, and in the future to assess when you're meeting a partner if this is actually the right person, is to give yourself more space to really just feel into things when you are apart from them, right? Because the Leo energy can become very attached and very almost obsessive with their partner, with the person that they have chosen, when it's in that lower vibration, right? That excitement and that want to just put your heart out there and to connect with this person can get taken too far, and the rest of it gets shut down. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning. You're jumping in right at the end. I'm just covering things about love and Kim and Kanye and what happened there and what's going on. So if I was a person with this chart, if I was with this and wanting to bring someone into my life and attract someone in a different way that doesn't end up in this way, I would actually look also to her Mercury, which is in Libra, right? And this is the communication. I feel like when we are communicating clearly, things that otherwise get missed would actually get picked up on, right? And there's not a lot of air energy in her chart, which is part of the reason. So it's probably communication and just talking and actually just getting to the bottom of things is probably not something that's happening a lot. Again, there's a lot of water and there's a lot of earth in her chart. So there's a lot of solidity and working and doing things. and just taking action, that earth energy. And there's the water of just a lot of feelings and lots of things coming up. And especially with that Scorpio energy, like and even Pisces as well, her moon is in Pisces. So she feels so deeply, right? That it can get kind of wrapped up and murky in that way when there's not much air, there's not much communication, there's not much kind of higher thinking going on in those realms. It's easy to get wrapped up in just the feelings and then just wanting to take action on feelings, basically, right? From air, from water to earth, that's what we do. So this is where I would go, okay, take some time away from the person to really get to know and really sort of think through and communicate with them outside of your time together, outside of also just in constant communication with them, to actually come back to you, because her Mercury being in Libra, there's that balance that's required, right? And you will very quickly be able to pick up where there's an imbalance, where it's like this relationship is moving too quickly, it's moving too intensely, you're not feeling calibrated, you're not feeling like you can really settle. Looking at her chart as well, with so much earth energy, her body is like her compass. It'll tell her everything. If she tunes into her body, it will tell her what's right, what she's feeling, where she's safe, what's actually a good idea. But when you're moving so fast and you have so many things going on and you're feeling so intensely and you're just moving on emotion, you can just pull yourself out of your body, be riding on that emotion, and then you don't pick up on the cues. You don't pick up on how your body feels. You don't pick up on the fact that you tense up a little bit when that text message comes from them, when you don't realize that you feel quite pressured when they want to do this, or where they want to take you this way, or they whatever it is. And if you're very used to just kind of being the workhorse, which from my view of what I've seen of her, again, just her public persona, I don't know her personally. If you are very much in that kind of workhorse mode, it can be easy to just feel your emotions and just move on them and just take that action, because you're used to just taking that action, right? She's got that Sun in Virgo, she's got her Jupiter in Virgo, she's got her Saturn in Virgo, so much earth energy that's just driving her, and that she's getting rewarded for, right? Because Jupiter is the planet of expansion. So when you're in that energy, it expands whatever it is that you're doing. She's so used to her taking action, being rewarded and getting her things, that it's easy to kind of fall into that and start taking action when it's not actually yet right, when it's not something that has actually got the depth and the clarity that you're seeking. Because again, not a lot of air energy in there, and air energy, thoughts, all of that, like the analytical mind, it brings clarity, right? Of course, we need to feel our emotions. Of course, especially when we're talking about a love partnership, that's got to be that connection. We've got to have those emotions and those feelings for someone. But when there's absolutely no thought into it at all, it's when we tend to fall into bad habits or bad patterns, where we get overly emotionally attached to something that wasn't actually a good fit to start with, but before we know it, we're already in too deep. And especially with all that earth energy, we've already taken a lot of steps and kind of reorchestrated our whole life to fit with this, and it's going to be a lot more of a restructure to take it out, right? And that's that quick moving from feeling to action, rather than allowing for that little bit of thought in the middle of like, okay, let's take some space, let's take some time, let's think this through. And like I said, with her chart, with so much earth energy, how is my body feeling? Like really, truly, how do I feel? How is my stomach? How is my chest? Is my mind clear around this person? Those kind of things. That would be some of the work that I would start doing with her if I was working with her, so that she can find the next person that she really connects with, to be able to make a decision on someone that truly aligns with her and what she requires and what she needs, so that, you know, that Leo Venus energy, that love language of Leo, so she can receive and give this big, beautiful, expansive, passionate, heart-centered love without it becoming overbearing. Sorry, excuse me. So that's everything. I think I've covered all the main questions that I had, that I feel like most of us would be very interested in terms of her business, her brand, her career, how that's played out and why, and also the love language side of things and love life and why it's showing up in certain ways. So let me know if you have any questions, if there's anything there that you wanted a little bit more context on. I'm happy to talk a little bit more. But if you do watch this on the replay as well, feel free to pop some comments in and some questions, because I will check back, and I might even, touch on it in the next week's one or something like that. I'll figure it out. But yeah, this is the first one. This is the first celebrity birth chart breakdown series. Like I said, I'm going to be doing this weekly. I'm always open to suggestions as well. So if you have a suggestion, someone that you think would be really interesting, that you'd love to know about a little bit more, and maybe some questions about them as well, please pop them in. I can't guarantee that I will do every single one, because I may not know enough about this person to really help or whatever, but I dare say I will, because I have a lot of Gemini. I have a lot of air in my chart, and so I do spend a lot of time thinking and reading and listening and taking in information, and yes, I am quite a treasure trove of information on people that I have yet to meet. I do hope to meet, like I said, Kim would be someone that I would be absolutely fascinated to meet, and would be honored to work with her, regardless of my personal stance on anything that she has or hasn't done, or her life or anything like that. At the end of the day, I don't know her. I don't know what's actually going on behind the scenes. I know only of the persona and the things that have been presented to us publicly. And that's why I never get too wrapped up in the, I guess, propaganda of I hate this person, I love this person, or anything like that for celebrities or public figures, because at the end of the day, I don't know them. I don't know them. I know their personal brand. I know how that's been presented. But I do not know if I resonate with someone or want to work with them or want to be in their space until I know that person for real. And from her chart, like I said, it makes so much perfect sense how her life has played out in terms of her career, in terms of her brand, in terms of her family, in terms of her love life, her choices there. You can see where she's really been operating from the highest alignment in so many ways with her chart, in terms of especially her career and her growth there. And then some of the lower alignments when it comes to love and choices there. However, part of that, especially that Venus energy in Leo, again, it's that fifth house, it's that family and children and everything like that. And it makes so much sense why this is something that she was so drawn to, and this is going to be a source of just that constant and consistent love for her, is having that family. And that's always been a part of her, because, you look at her, the brand, it was all built on family. Like, that's the whole thing. So it just, it makes so much sense when you look at it this way and understand the person. And it would be fascinating to get to know her personally and get to see how this all fits in. But that's everything today for Kim. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you have any requests, any suggestions. I have not yet decided on next week's chart, so it is wide open. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Did you enjoy this? Is this something of interest to you? Do you want to see more of this? Obviously, I'm going to keep doing it for the foreseeable future anyway, because this is the first one and got to give it a chance. But I would love to know if this is something that resonates, if this is something you will enjoy. And yeah, looking forward to next week's. Have an amazing day. Sending you so much love.